Okay, finish some more. Now we're going to do all the little cat furniture on the Cat Cafe garden. First up, we got a hanging box. It's basically something for the little kittens to walk around on the wall. I should get one from Marsh, honestly. And you're just going to build a couple boxes. We're going to break this down. So we're going to build box number 1. Just take it side by side and pay attention to the A and B, as usual. Once you get your little box going, then you're just going to top it off. I would recommend, especially on some of these boxes, is to let this dry a little bit before closing it up. It's a little hard to straighten it out once it's if it's still wet, because it'll just move all over the place on you. And there you go. You got a little fishy. Now we're basically going to do the same thing, just we're going to make a hexagon box instead. So we'll do one side at a time. Just take it step by step. If you need to let each one dry before you go to the next one, by all means, take your time. Do it however is easy for you. You know, in all honesty, I just noticed that make sure that little non-hold piece is at the bottom. I lucked out and it ended up on the bottom. And just put your little kitty cat cutout piece right on top. And I did kind of fidget with it a little bit and just use, you can use a long X-Acto, or I have my little Sculpey tool that I use for everything. And just fiddle with it until it's nice and straight and set it aside to dry. Now this does have a light, and all you do is just glue it into the hole there. I decided to hold off and wait until I actually install it into the full project, just so that I know how long the wire needs to be and things like that. You can do it now, either way is perfectly fine. So now we're going to make the little ladder, and you just cut 2 pieces of the rope and you put the little steps on it. The only parts I actually really measured was the 2 end parts, just to get myself started, so I know how far in it needs to go. And then once you get to all the middle ones, you just space them out. I put the middle one in and then halved each size so it turns out even. You'll see. To glue the ladder to each side, I decided to put a couple pens down there, a couple fat pens down, so that it kind of lifts it up for me. And then I just glued one side, waited, and then glued the other. And yes, I'm fully aware that I glued it to the wrong side. I do fix it. I do fix it. See, I fixed it. That just shows everybody makes mistakes and it's all fixable. This next section they called cat tools, but we're just going to break it down. There's a cute little kitty that will go in one part. And the first thing we're going to attack is the food bowl. You cut out this little funny little wheel and you're just going to bend down each one of these little spikes. And then we're going to glue a piece to this. Now I pre-curled it a little bit just to help myself out so that it doesn't pop up. It'll do it anyway. This part was a little bit tricky for me. I tried going around just straight across. I ended up using my little bitty clothespins to help me out. Just take your time. It's going to be frustrating. Probably could do like one spoke at a time. That first one, let it dry. Do another one, let it dry. And it might be a little less frustrating. Here we go. We got it in the end. Now on to the next step. We're just going to flip it upside down and we're going to put this little bowl piece in there so it looks like an actual food bowl. Now we need some food for our bowl, and it's just I cut a long strip of this brown and just cut it into little teeny tiny chunks so it looks like the dry food. What do you feed your kitty cat? Marsh gets both dry and wet. He's spoiled, so it's okay. He's a good kitty. And then you just put a glob of glue and stick some food inside. You can fill it as full as you want. Now technically this is done, but I didn't like all the white that was showing. So I found me some red paint and just kind of did that top rim, make it look like that it was more of a solid red color. And you don't have to, that's just me. It's a little wet here, but once it dries, I think it'll look much better. What do you think? Now we're going to do a little cat bed. So what you're going to do, and I always do things a little bit different than the instructions. So I'm gluing this directly onto our white felt. And then on that, and before I cut it out, I'm going to glue it directly onto the pink felt. So the bottom side, we're just gluing it underneath, making sure the paper is up. And then once that's dry, now I'm going to cut it out. See? Now you don't even have to measure. Yep, it's totally and completely crooked. Not a problem, because what we're going to do is we're going to fold it over and then we'll trim it up and you'll never know. I did end up clamping this with my clothespins. Those clothespins come in handy. And also, don't worry if it shows a little bit of the white, because when you wrap it around the base, it's going to hide underneath anyway. So, no big deal. Now we're going to make the little bed. We're going to use the softer pink foam or material. And I'm just going to glue it directly on and then cut it out. Once everything's all nice and dry, we're supposed to glue this piece all the way around your base. It is tricky and fiddly, and you can't use clothespins on this because it's too wide. So just go piece by piece and patience. I did hold that piece for a very long time, probably a whole TV show, just until I let it go. But it works. Now we need to make a little cat toy to go on our cat bed, because, you know, cats need toys. I'm just going to cut a wire, easy enough. And at this point, I cut all the wires I needed at the same time. Plan ahead. And I'm going to cut a little piece of the rope, but before that, we're going to do the little fringy. We've made this a million times into flowers. This is the first time I've made it into a cat toy, but you just fringe it up and roll it up. Rolling this paper was tricky because I think the grain works against you, but I tried using my tool. I ended up just kind of pinching it and curling it. Just take your time. Glue as you go. You'll get it. And then once you get to the end, glue it up and floof it up. Next, you glue a little bead on, and the only tricky part is make sure the little hole is facing up. I did end up fidgeting with a little bit just to make sure that hole was straight up and down. The string that I was going to use is way too thick, so what I did is I just took it down a couple strands. Not a big deal. I think I lost the one string that they actually wanted us to use. We can improvise. So I just put it down to 2 strands, and then I put it in the little holes. That's why we make sure the hole was straight up. And this is frustrating as all heck, but get it just kind of started, and then kind of use either a needle, or I have my little sculpty tool. Just jam it in there. And then then you just gotta glue the other end to the wire. You gotta just take your time and hold it there for a while the glue dries. Last steps of this, I kind of curled it a little bit so it's a little more fun, and then just glued it to the back. I used the crease in your wraparound material there to my advantage, held it there for a while, and then you're on to the next step. Gotta add the little kitty cat. I was really half tempted to paint that orange. I really almost did, but nah, I'll leave it white. Alright, we got a couple more toys to make. Basically the same thing. You're gonna do the little fishing rod toys, for the cats. So we're gonna make two more. We're going to make one with a little pom-pom on the end. I couldn't find my little pom-poms, so I just cut a piece of cotton ball to size and stuck it to the end. You get the same effect. Honestly, cats will play with anything that moves, so I call it a good. And then you're going to make a little fish. This one's fun. So you're going to fold it in half, and then you're going to cut a little triangle out of the mouth so that you can fit your string in it. You'll put the little string in there and then glue it down. I probably should have let it dry before I go to the next step of cutting it out, because it did rip a little bit. So I would probably, once you do this step and let it flatten out, let it dry completely and then cut it out. And I'm just gonna cut the string to size. I did things a little bit out of order, but it works either way. Now I'm going to make the stick. You notice that they use the thicker one for this one, not the skinny little wire, and it's a lot shorter. So just pay attention to that, which wire goes to which project. And this is where you'll see it. I should have let it dry completely. It was too wet and smushy. So once I got to the little tail, he kind of lost a fin. No biggie. The cat will love it. Okay, now we're going to make a little sofa. Next section, there's a lot of parts. Again, we're just going to break it down into nice, easy chunks. It's not that bad. This section, you will be using the little patterns. They will be helpful, so get those handy too. Alright, we're going to make the little couch, or sofa, or chair, whatever you want to call it. We're going to do in layers, because we like a nice, soft, squishy sofa. We're going to put the little square on there, let it dry, and then cut it out. And here's our pattern, and you can kind of see through it. I don't know if you can see it there. I'm just going to use that as kind of my guide. I'm going to use my fancy little pen and just kind of rough sketch it out. You always, even if you'd made it exactly the shape, you always seem to have to trim it and fudge it a little bit to make it fit properly. At least that's what happens to me all the time. Once you got your little piece, you're going to glue the white fuzzy side down onto your little material there. And this blue doesn't have a front or back, so either way goes. And we're just going to squish it in the middle, and then we're going to glue the sides. I did end up using my clothespins on this and letting this dry completely before I move to the next step. You're just gonna fold it up like a little envelope. So up the bottom, that didn't sound right? And then down over the top. And you got yourself a cushion. I did see, even if you made it perfect, I glued it a little bit. If you have little gaps and things, just glue it, hold it, and then you'll be fine. See, looks fine. Next cushion is a little different. I'm not 100% sure why they had this one with a hole in the middle. I don't know, maybe we were supposed to really put a lot of batting in there. But you're going to start out with this blue piece of paper. It's going to be your backing. And then you're going to take your batting here, the filler, and just, I put a gloop of glue everywhere and just stuck it on there and trimmed it up so that it wasn't too floofy. You'll see here, I got it a little crazy there, so I just gave it a haircut so that it's a little more manageable. You can make it as floofy as you want. It's just a little tricky to glue down your blue material over the top of it if it gets too big. Alright, next pattern. Same thing. We're just going to roughly trace it so that we at least know what size we're supposed to be. And then cut this out. In hindsight, this probably would have been nicer if I'd done it a little too big on the little flaps, because it is really difficult. You have to literally sit there and wait for that one to dry before you can go on to the next one. If I make it a long flaps, at least I could have used my clothespins to stick it down. We try it how they want you to, and then you improvise later if you ever did it again. And then once you get it all done, it's going to get a little bit gloppy. It's okay. That's the back side, so it's not a big deal. And I think it's the bottom seat part, so it should be a little foofy. And then you glue the two pieces together at a slight angle. So what I ended up doing is, once I got it to this part, is I leaned it up against something while it dried. I also noticed there was a gap here, so I just glue it up and hold it closed. And now we're going to make a bunch of pillows, little kitty cat pillows. And the first one is a giant paw print. So we're going to start out with the batting. And I decided, since I'm doing this one, I might as well do all the other ones at the same time. So I put all the little kitty cat heads on there too. Time to get efficient. Once that's reasonably dry, you just trim them up. And now you go to the next one. And we're all ready for a bunch of little pillows. And then I did all of them at the same time. So make sure you're fuzzy sides out so that you get little fuzzy paw prints and kitty cat heads. So I just stuck them all on there, and make sure you had enough room all the way around, because we're gonna gather these up. Alright, the only hard part is getting into all these little creases. So what I found was using my little ruler here and get it in the crease and just hold it there pretty much until the glue dries, and then go on to the next one. So you got to get the little fingers first. Once you get that far, you're golden, because you just glue all the way around and then hold it there until that dries. I literally just did this watching YouTube and just holding this in my hand. I figured, okay, next commercial break, I will let go. And then I held it, and then I glued. I held it, and I glued. It was actually kind of therapeutic. Once it was all dry, and I just trimmed it down. It's not going to be perfect like they show in the diagram, but you're going to cover it up, so no big deal. So just trim it as close as you can. My glue went over a little bit. I think that worked in my favor a bit, so it kind of seals the edges. And then you're going to just cover the back. See, all these rough edges will be covered up with the same shape. With the same material. Slap it on the back. And now you're gonna cut out the little the beans of the paw, right? So you're going to do a little heart. I used the corner for my little heart piece, and then 4 little circles. and just glue them on. My little fingers, what would you call them? The little paws, turned out a little bigger, but I think mine turned out just fine. It's cute, no matter what. And you just stick it on our little couch. There you go. Cute. All right, now we're gonna make the little cat pillows. And basically the same thing. This one's got a few less creases, so I can just use my fingernails to go into between the cat ears. And you just do section at a time. Glue, hold, glue, hold. And then you just trim it up. Now, this one didn't ask to put a backing on the back of these, but I had the pattern and I have the extra material, so why not? Let's make this look complete. So I just cut out a bunch of little cat head just material and glued it on the back, just like we did the paw print. Four little cute little pillows. Lastly, we got lights. I decided to throw this in this one just to even out everything, because the next group of things that I want to do is all the plants. So this doesn't fit there and it doesn't fit in the other one, so let's do it here. This one confused me with this piece of paper. So it wanted this, and they want you to glue it to the back of this. So I thought that was kind of strange, because if we use the pattern piece, it's got words on it, and if this is going to be a light, you're going to see through it, right? So I just took a scrap piece of white paper, and we're going to use that instead. We're just going to stick this on, and kaplowy. You can see if I would have used the one with the lettering on it, you would have seen right through it. So I don't get it. I don't know. Once you get that piece all cut out, we're going to cut the one that has the Cat Cafe Garden logo on it, and we're going to stick it right over the top of it. Now, I got two little fishy pieces, and I didn't see where there was any other parts for this. So I assumed, I know, that this all went together. So that's what I did. So I stuck the blank back on there, and then I stuck the other part on the other one, because I figured these two go together somehow. Hey, it worked out in the end. Now they wanted you to drill a little hole in the top before or after you glued it with the to the fish. I felt that it would be easier to do it before, so I just put it right in the middle and just poked a hole. This is a lot easier than once it's glued because I'm imagining it just falling apart and getting mad at it. And then I glued it on. So I just put the hole right at the nose and glued away. This is another one where you're going to have to glue a little part at a time, and because there's a lot of little curves you have to go around. And you can't use clothespins. You just got to use your hand and be patient. You just string the light through your hole and definitely wait until this is dry at least halfway, otherwise this is going to rip and tear and it's going to be too wet. Even if it did, you probably could just glue it, that's fine. So I just strung this through gently and then put a glob of glue behind the light so it kind of lays down flat for me. You want to do everything before you seal it up with the next level. And then once that's relatively dry, I just put the next layer on top. It raised up a little bit because I think you're supposed to just stick the paper directly on it. I had the wood, I don't know, it added a little more dimension to it. And I think it looks just fine. It works. And we have one more light, and this couldn't be any easier. You put some glue in the little flower, string the light through, you're done. At least you got all the lights done now. And there you go. You got another group of things done. Got the little cat bed and his food bowl. You got the lights done, a bunch of little toys. You got some pillows, and you got a thing that they're gonna climb all over the place on the wall. I think we did good. So we got a couple more to go. We're getting there. Next up, we're gonna do all the plants. Our favorite, right? And so if you haven't already, subscribe so you don't miss the next one. And if you have, thank you very much. And I will see you in the next video. Bye.